Welcome back to the Young Voters Weekly Roundup. Today we have some very interesting items of business to discuss with you and provide some commentary on. The first is the WikiLeaks leak, the document release which makes public all the U.S. diplomatic cables that have been transmitted over the past few years. The cables themselves go back to the 60s. Some cables were released from them, but the bulk are from 2000 and onwards. So what do these cables say? Well, they've been pretty scathing of some foreign leaders, and they've drawn a lot of criticism, obviously, from the government for the release. Of course, it's always a bad thing when top secret information is released. I mean, it's not top secret for no reason. I mean, there is a reason for it being top secret. Now, a lot of journalists are praising this because they want more transparency, etc. This information wasn't exactly top secret. It was just not available to the public. It was one of the lower demarcations of secrecy. So some people are saying that this is a good step forward, and a lot of people are, of course, in the community are praising Julian Assange, who is the founder of WikiLeaks and the person who helped make these documents public. A lot of government officials and other people are on the opposite side and saying that this is a bad thing, and some people are going so far as to say some pretty outlandish things, including prominent conservatives in the United States. Mike Huckabee said that the person responsible should be executed, and anything less of execution is too kind of a punishment, and George W. Bush says the person should certainly be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. George W. Bush, the recent president of the United States. Now, it's very interesting because they're criticizing leaking secret information. Now, that's something that the Republicans and the Republican establishment have had trouble with in the past, and it seems pretty hypocritical of them to say that, oh, well, whoever's responsible should be executed. Anything less is being too kind. Well, does Valerie Plame ring a bell? I don't know. Of course, that Valerie Plame was the undercover CIA operative, the wife of Jill Wilson, former U.S. ambassador, who reported that no yellow cake was being sold to Saddam Hussein, and apparently, in an apparent attempt to get back at Wilson, the White House, Vice President Cheney's office, released information to the effect that Valerie Plame Wilson was a CIA agent. She was a covert operative, and of course this jeopardized her missions. A lot of people put a lot of people's lives in danger. We don't even know how many people were killed as a result of these leaks. But of course at the time, Bush said that Scooter Libby was of course the chief of staff to Vice President Cheney. The sentence against Libby was excessive, and of course Bush commuted the prison term and just made him pay the fine. And Huckabee at the same time also thought that commuting the sentence was, quote, fair. Now, it's a complete reversal from what they're saying now, because the WikiLeaks guy is releasing other important, quote, diplomatic cables, and now this guy should be executed. But when you add a CIA operative, oh, no. They shouldn't even sort of jail time. I think it's pretty hypocritical. I think people are going to see that it's hypocritical. It's, again, Republican hypocrisy, right-wing hypocrisy. I mean, if they were going to take a tough line on Scooter Libby, I'm fully supportive of having Assange and this Marine captain or sergeant who apparently gave WikiLeaks all this information. I'm fully supportive of prosecuting them to the full extent of the law. I don't know about execution. I mean, that's up to the jury, etc. But and again, the whole idea that we have to execute him. Well, the whole point of a trial by jury is that they will determine and the judge will determine what an appropriate sentence is. You shouldn't start out by saying he should be executed. That's the appropriate sentence. But I'm going to get off the soapbox and just say I'm fully ready to support that these people need to be prosecuted, because I agree that legally these documents were secret. They should not be shared with the public, and by sharing them with the public, whoever did so is breaking the law, and those people should be prosecuted. I completely agree with that. But at the same time, you then can't be like, oh, well, Scooter Libby is fine. I mean, come on. He added a CIA operative, but it's no big deal. Come on. Joe Wilson was kind of crackhead anyway. I mean, he was not a crackhead, but I mean, come on, he was a pain in the ass. His wife, playing was fair game. Come on, let's be real. I mean, this is hypocrisy of the first dimension, and I'm not giving the Republicans a pass on this, and no one should. This is ridiculous. Okay, you're going to be hard on Assange, you be hard on Wilson. Okay. Hey, shouldn't they be calling to execute Libby? I never said that. Okay, but certainly Libby should have served some sort of sentence. At least if you're going to say that now Assange and his cronies are going to have to serve a sentence. But that's just my opinion. Think about it. Their second item of business is Jim DeMint. Jim DeMint, you gotta love Jim DeMint. Come on, it's Jim DeMint. So Jim DeMint has already set up targets for 2012. Democratic senators that need to be gotten rid of. For the good of the people, of course. Who are these? Joe Manchin, West Virginia. Ben Nelson. Well, Ben Nelson, I have to agree with him. Ben Nelson, come on, you can get rid of it. I don't know about Jim DeMint's alternative, but sure, Ben Nelson is not exactly a Democratic senator. But whatever. Ben Nelson, John Tester, and Ken Conrad. And these people are, quote, not conservative and, quote, violating the will of the voters. Now, that's very interesting, because how are you going to prove that they violated the will of the voters when the voters have elected them, and in some cases re-elected them, by pretty significant margins? Ben Nelson was elected with over 60% of the vote last time. So I don't understand how you can say he's violating the will of the voter. Now, he's not conservative. Okay, so Jim DeMint, of course, is everyone needs to be conservative, and that's fine. I mean, he comes from South Carolina. It's a pretty conservative state. But you can't say that every state in the union has to be conservative. I agree that Montana, Nebraska, okay, they're conservative states, and so is perhaps West Virginia in some ways. But to say that they're violating the will of the voters and that they're not conservative, that's a reason to get rid of them, that seems pretty strange to me and boggling. But of course it appeals to Jim DeMint's base and fires up people for Jim DeMint, so that's great. I mean, good for Jim DeMint. But I think it's also really funny that Joe Manchin has already violated the will of the voters. He was elected a month ago, but I mean, less than a month ago. And he received 53% of the vote, 54% of the vote. He received a big chunk of the vote in that election. Okay, his opponent did not receive. He beat his opponent by about 10 points. So I don't understand how he can already, within the past month, and of course he was only sworn in about 2 weeks ago, how can he have already violated the will of the voters when the only big bill that the Senate passed was a food safety bill that would have increased standards and regulation for food safety? So Joe Manchin's vote on that violated the will of the voters? It boggles me. It boggles me. Jim DeMint's logic, but I mean, it's Jim DeMint. Let's be real. So, you know, whatever. This week is just full of Republican hypocrisy. I mean, it's humorous. If it weren't so serious, it would be more humorous. But it's still humorous, though it is pretty scary. The next item of business, the START Treaty. Now, this is probably one of the good bits of news coming out of this week, along with the improving stock market, which posted some pretty good gains this week. Also, retail sales were up, but the unemployment rate went up. But again, that's diverging. But another good bit of news was the START Treaty. Apparently now, it seems more likely to pass. It seems some more Republicans are on board because now the administration has said that they're going to provide funding to innovate, I guess, the nuclear stockpile. Nuclear technologies will be advanced, etc. So now John Kyle is gonna be happy. So now John Kyle is moving closer to being able to support the bill. Not just John Kyle, some other nice Republican senators, Dick Lugar of Indiana, Bob Corker of Tennessee, and Scott Brown of Massachusetts, among others. I mean, it seems, I think, Olympia Snowe is also on board of Maine, etc. So there are some, more moderate senators that are on board. And John McCain seems slightly closer to supporting it. I mean, John McCain, I don't know what happened to John McCain. I mean, he's all over the place. No one cares about John McCain anymore. I mean, John McCain is now trying to out-conservative to be even more conservative than Orrin Hatch. I mean, come on, he's getting right in the right, John McCain. Now, of course, he is against Don't Ask, Don't Tell when he said that if the military said it wasn't going to be a problem, then he would support it. But now, of course, the military is saying it's not going to be a problem. Well, John McCain was like, well, no. we can't do it, and it's gonna not be good. And then of course calling the Secretary of Defense and Obama not military leaders. Commander-in-Chief, hello, he's in charge of the armed forces, but whatever. So that's John McCain for you, and it's very, very amusing. But getting back to the START Treaty, it seems like more likely to pass. Don't ask, don't tell does not seem likely to pass. Of course, the head of the Marine Corps is being a royal pain in the ass by saying that it's going to disrupt unit cohesion, etc. This is, of course, after a study came out saying that it wouldn't happen, saying that the soldiers were interviewed and asked, is this going to disrupt your unit cohesion? And they said, no, it's not. 70% of respondents said that it would have no effect, in their opinion. Now, I don't understand where this guy is coming from, the head of the Marine Corps, who's probably one of the only people in the Army, or at least in the armed forces, that has come out against this. And so I find it pretty interesting. And, of course, the Republicans are now going to try to say, oh, no, we can't pass this, it's bad. I really don't see a reason why we shouldn't pass this. If it doesn't affect our military readiness, which it doesn't seem to be affecting, or unit cohesion, which it doesn't seem to be affecting, according to this study that a lot of Republicans beforehand said, let's wait for the end of the study. And now the study says repeal it, and they're not repealing it. But whatever. I mean, again, Republican hypocrisy, it keeps going on this week. Finally, for the last bit of news, which is really angry, I mean, it really gets me angry, it gets ticked off, I get very upset, the Bush tax cuts. I mean, come on. They passed the House, and this week there are going to be 2 votes in the Senate. Now, the first one is going to be to renew the tax cuts for those making under $250,000. The second one is going to be for to renew tax cuts for those under $100,000. Now, that's if the first one fails. So I'm really hoping that they pass, but it doesn't seem the Republicans are on board. No, tax cuts for the middle class. Come on. We got to get the rich tax cuts too. I mean, they're the job creators, right? I mean, personal income, whatever. It's not even business income, but we got to give them tax breaks. Add to the deficit. Come on. Where have you been? That's what we've been doing these last 10 years. Come on. You don't need to keep the taxes low for millionaires. There's a group out there. It's called Patriotic Millionaires. There are a lot of groups of millionaires out there, including Warren Buffett, that says, no, raise our taxes. It's the fair thing to do. This is what you have to do to close the deficit. This is one of the steps. There's no reason for our taxes to be lower. We don't need the money. Okay, after a certain point, okay, it's a principle of economics. After a certain amount of money, people work less. Okay, you have to spend time after a while. You work less because you get so much money that you have to spend time spending it. A lot of rich people do not want these tax cuts. Now, of course, there are a lot of people, okay, that want them. I mean, why not? I mean, it's extra money. But people that are trying to be, quote-unquote, patriotic, which, of course, the Republicans love to use that term, they're saying, no, get rid of these tax cuts. We don't need them. But, again, Republican hypocrisy, they want to cut the deficit, of course, but no, we don't want to raise taxes on anyone this time. So what should we do? Just let's freeze the government. Let's just get rid of the government. I mean, the Republicans would love that. They would just love getting rid of the government. Oh, except when then they don't have subsidized health insurance and a government salary, right? It's always so funny to hear them. I mean, their logic is baffling. But again, there are plenty of people out there who disagree with me. Post your comments. We can have a debate. Don't call me an idiot and a left-wing nutjob, because I've tried to back up my argument with reason. I've taken introductory economics. I'm studying economics. I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to also use logic, something that Republicans often don't use, or at least they seem to have a sort of on and off relationship with. I don't really know, but let me know what you think, all right? So it's a pretty troubling week. I mean, it's funny, but at the same time, it's very serious. Lobby your senators to have these tax cuts passed, okay? And not for the wealthiest, please. Let's be fair now, all right? Thank you again for watching The Young Voter.